President Donald Trump nominated Jerome Powell to become the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. What has Jerome Powell said about Bitcoin and blockchain technology? And what have other Federal Reserve members said about Bitcoin and distributed ledger technology? Even though a lot of people say they don't like it, there's a lot of bankers and regulators who are overtly excited about Bitcoin and blockchain tech. Are these the kinds of people who buy any asset when it's already actively being pumped in the news? And also in these uncertain times of multiple parties forking around and stories told, could the recent and sudden extreme price rise in Bitcoin BTC be part of the 2x attack already in progress? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. So there's so much happening, there's so much excitement going around, there's so much money being pumped into Bitcoin. People are freaking out that we are just hitting all-time high after all-time high after all-time high. More and more people are learning about Bitcoin, are hearing about Bitcoin blockchain technology, and there is a huge and palpable fear of missing out. There's a lot of fear, and with that fear, there's certain levels of uncertainty and major areas of doubt for lots of different people, depending on how much they know, how much they've heard, and what they're being told from the different voices that are inside their ear. Let it be who they follow in their Facebook feed or what they heard in the news for that particular day. There's a lot happening and there's a lot going on. Well, one of the biggest aspects of the news and what's one of the biggest aspects of the happenings of the current times of the markets of the technology and the markets in terms of the price of Bitcoin and each of these digital assets is that we have so much more attention that is just opening, and not only is that attention opening more and more, but the rate of that attention increasing into the blockchain space is just getting more and more intense as the focus of people's attention, the focus of people's interest really intensifies on what is Bitcoin, why is it valuable, who owns it, who controls it, and what is all this talk about me having to control my private keys. So with all of that, we're going to talk about what's happening in the market, what's going around there. We're going to talk about the new Federal Reserve chairman that potentially who has been nominated by Trump and what they're already saying about the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology, giving us insights and understanding into their line of thinking. Because there may be a shift that's happening with inside of America within the bankers and the regulators, recognizing that Russia, recognizing that Japan, recognizing that Australia, recognizing that all sorts of countries across the world and cities across the world, including Dubai, are really getting ahead of the United States around Bitcoin, around blockchain technology, around distributed ledger technology, fintech and financial technology. There's a lot happening, and the bankers and the regulators are starting to recognize inside the United States that they do not want to be left behind. And so we may see shifts in tone. We may see shifts in what we've been hearing before in terms of the narrative, not so much that Bitcoin and blockchain technology is a root of all evil, but that there may actually be great potential for businesses and banks to make a lot of money. So the herd is going to be rushing in. We are already seeing the early implications of that. But at the same time, while there's so much hype, while there's so much interest, while there's so much fear and speculation happening, this could be counterintuitive for some of the long-term hopes and dreams that supporters of Bitcoin, BTC really have around the potential and the promise of this technology. The increase in price is a lot of money. There's a lot of money coming into the space that's not coming from small investors. And with so much money entering the space, there's huge potential for tricks and manipulations to happen with the whole known knowns, known unknowns, and then the unknown unknowns, right? things that we can't even possibly imagine that may be coming down the pipeline. But if we're paying attention ahead of time, we could just recognize that although these are very, very, very exciting times, there's definitely some anomalies happening, and it's a lot to be aware of. So with that being said, please consider commenting. It is very encouraging when people tap that like button when you comment. If you can't support the channel through any donations, if you can't support the channel through a paid membership at mintingcoins.com, then all I ask is that if you have questions, if you have comments, leave them in the comment box below. Be part of the conversation, be part of the community, have your voice heard, stop just consuming information. And my ask to you is that at the very least you contribute by hitting that like button and letting us all know what you think in the notes below as we go through some of this news and some of this information. So with that being said, let's take a look at the market, pop around the news, and let's discuss. So starting over here at coinmarketcap.com, we are living in a world with over 1,260 different cryptocurrencies, and this market capitalization, the total market capitalization of the cryptocurrency universe is over $200 billion, over $201 billion, which puts us at $0.2 trillion in terms of the total market capitalization. It's only a matter of time before we see this hit 300 billion, 400 billion, a half a trillion, so forth and so on, because as we're chasing for a total market capitalization of $1 trillion, the next goal after that, of which we're a fifth of the way there, would be for this Bitcoin market capitalization to reach $1 trillion. And we saw before what a $1 trillion market cap would give us in terms of that per Bitcoin price. Currently at $125.8 billion, we have a per Bitcoin price, new all-time high, $7,549, with 24-hour trading volumes going in and out of Bitcoin at $2.2 billion. It's a lot of money. Bitcoin Cash only three-quarters of, not even three-quarters of $1 billion, $714 billion. Bitcoin Cash recently rising, not rising so much the past couple days. Definitely something to be watching for in terms of a black swan. Definitely a lot of talk in terms of a black swan event, in terms of an attack on Bitcoin BTC, giving an opportunity for Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin to overtake Bitcoin in terms of what's happening with the stories being told and the fear, the uncertainty, the confusion, the doubt, the hope, the hype, all of it put together set to emotionally confuse, emotionally disturb, and to upset the logical thinking that people have in terms of their decisions, their decision making, recognizing that time in the market is definitely stronger than timing the market. And while diversification is always recommended from what we're being told from the financial experts, it's definitely not worth the risk of making these trades based on emotion, and it's definitely worth understanding what's happening, what's going on in the world, and making it all make sense to you. So in terms of this market moving around, in terms of this market changing around, people are watching this Bitcoin price go up and up and up. The alt prices of all the altcoins, even if you're looking at the Ethereum, I mean, look at this. We were looking at Ethereum a few months ago at 0.14, 0.15 Bitcoin, and now Ethereum is just 0.03, almost 0.04. It's 0.1 less than it was. It's just all of these altcoins, including Ethereum, are at such lows, while people have this mass anticipation for the Bitcoin SegWit 2x hard fork that's going to be happening in just about a week's time here. When that happens, people are going to receive all these SegWit coins, all these new SegWit 2x coins, that is, these B2x, S2x, different ticker symbols that people are already giving it. And with this new B2X coin, it's going to pop on this list. There's going to be another Bitcoin coin. It's going to have a huge market capitalization as the price out there is fought in terms of the number of people who are buying it and selling it. And that's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out moving forward. And so we have the bull on a stage. You know, we have the bull. The bull means the market's going up. The bull, you know, you have the horns and it's charging. And then in the background, you have the bear, and the bear is just waiting to jump on stage. The bear is just waiting to take the place of the bull, because while the bull has its time, and while the bull is performing, and while the bull is making news, and the bull is making headlines, and everybody loves a winner, it's only a matter of time before the comic relief comes out, slips on a banana, and not only does the bear get hurt, but all the people who, you know, are trading on the emotion are definitely going to see huge pain points, let's call them, as the markets get super crazy after we get closer to the fork, through the fork, past the fork, and you know, the price of Bitcoin just can't go up forever. It can't go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Even though that's the direction for the moon, it's, you know, more of, you know, the S-word curve, which are up. Yeah, and so there has to be at some point a correction to some degree, and where people are going to take their profits and put a lot of this money into the altcoins. We're going to see, again, what we're predicting. None of this is financial advice. This is just speculation. You need to make your own financial decisions. But what we're predicting is to see the total market capitalization breathe in and expand, and then maybe to breathe out a little bit as people turn some of that into fiat. But really what's important to pay attention to is going to be the Bitcoin BTC dominance decrease as the market capitalization, you know, exits out of Bitcoin and then falls into the other altcoins, so that the BTC dominance is going to be, you know, closer back down to 50%, while the total market capitalization still remains close to 200 billion, if not more. And so, you know, I guess talking about the market and then turning into part of the news, it's just, you know, we're transitioning into the news here. It's just be warned. There's this post on our Bitcoin on Reddit to be warned that the price rise could be or is part of the 2x attack. And so this is just merely an opinion that this person was sharing with some Bitcoin colleagues that agreed with them, with no data to support this claim, but that the rise happening because of the 2x supporters are buying Bitcoins, and a lot of Bitcoins. They're buying all these Bitcoins so they could have the 2x. And so the 2x supporters are basically miners and obscure figures that want to take control of Bitcoin. And they want to force exchanges to say that the longest blockchain will be Bitcoin. And Coinbase even changed at their announcement. However, this post goes on to say that if 1x has still much more value than 2x, then their project, the 2x, is not going to go anywhere, and Bitcoin will continue to be the 1x chain. Well, what could they do now in order to make their project more valuable? If they wanted to do nothing and just keep mining 2x blocks, their project is dead anyway. They will buy as much Bitcoin pre-fork, and when the exchanges allow deposits and give them 2x and 1x coins, they'll dump the 1x for as much as they can. Doing that, the 2x price will rise, and if it has a significant value, let's say the 2x, the B2x goes to 0.6 Bitcoin, then that will create a huge doubt in terms of the people and in the minds of the people as which Bitcoin is going to be the longest chain, and then they're going to start buying the 2x Bitcoin as Bitcoin. And we already know Coinbase is going to be listing the 2x coin and the 1x coin. So Coinbase is going to give people both. There's going to be additional confusion. Additional people are going to just purchase both coins or one or the other coin, as so many voices in the space, so many voices in the community continue to support and focus and push forward the idea of let it be Bitcoin Cash or the B2X coin, creating additional uncertainty, fear, and doubt for the main Bitcoin coin. So, and because of all this, it's also part of the reasons why we think all the other altcoins are going to just do really well, because as there's all this confusion inside the Bitcoin, main Bitcoin blockchain space, you know, all people are going to maybe put their money into other coins as a safety net, you know, perhaps, you know, the weak hands that just want to lose their Bitcoin, that just gets scared out of the situation, I suppose. And so who has that bunch of money to throw at Bitcoin and make the price surge like that in order to take control of Bitcoin miners funded by Chinese government? This post goes on to say, again, is 2x don't buy tons of Bitcoin pre-fork in order to sell the 1x after the fork and make 2x more valuable. The project is dead anyways. That's their only chance. And so that's what this post goes on to say. There's a lot of additional information here if you like go through the comments, a lot of interesting comments in there as well, but just to bring this to your attention to see what you think about this possibility, let me know what you think in the comments below. I mean, I think we saw this sort of similar aspect happen when Bitcoin Cash came around, but it was a lot more difficult to maintain because of the Bitcoin Cash difficulty adjustment, which was creating all sorts of irregularities in these cycles of profitability and difficulty for that situation. Super technical and super boring, right? Maybe for some of you. Let me know. So Bitcoin is huge. I thought this was interesting. When this was posted, it was about $150,000 was the price to own 21 Bitcoin, which was to be part of the 1 millionth club, right? And so we're at the $7,500 mark. So, I mean, that's just about the same, $157,500. And yeah, so if you own 21 Bitcoins, that's going to be 21 millionth of all the Bitcoins, or 1 millionth of all the Bitcoins that will ever be possible for someone to own. And so that's why some people try to own, their goal is to own 21 Bitcoins or 84 Litecoins or 230 ETCs. Because there's, if you own 1 millionth of that coin, it's just a psychological mark for you to reach in terms of the ownership behind that particular technology. Last thing about this whole bubble talk and the whole market talk before we get big into the news is that we have this old video. I'll leave this here for you, where you can take a look at the Winklevoss twins being grilled by CNBC at whether or not Bitcoin was at a bubble back when Bitcoin was skyrocketing all the way to $300. Not $3,000, not $30,000, but $300. People just were really wondering if Bitcoin had potential, if Bitcoin had legs, if Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme. And not only are we past a $300 mark and a $3,000 mark and a $6,000 mark, but we are currently around that $7,500 mark. And even if Bitcoin crashes 50%, then it's still of significant value compared to where it had been, which is definitely interesting. Checking out this video might be interesting for you to get the historical context of how Bitcoin has been seen over time. Definitely interesting stuff. Okay, so turning to today's news, taking a peek at what's going on around here. First of all, we have the Goldman Sachs CEO who sees Bitcoin inside and a part of the new world. Sees Bitcoin as part of the currency of the new world. A lot of talk of this new world industry, and the industry that's going to be happening as so many other industries in finance and really every industry starts to get disrupted by blockchain technology. And just like we had a new world with silicon technology and a silicon industry after the Bronze Age and this, the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, and we have the Silicon Age, and now we're going to have the blockchain age. And so this person goes on to say that I read a lot of history, and I know that once upon a time a coin was worth $5 if it had $5 worth of gold in it. This is what the CEO said. Now we have paper that is just backed by fiat. Maybe in the new world, something gets backed by consensus. And so this is really, really interesting because he points out the current situation, how paper money is just paper money. And they could print as much as they want, and it's just ink on paper. Even though it's fancy ink and fancy paper, having paper money that's simply backed by fiat and governments and other rocky centralized authority is not an ideal situation, which is what the leaders of these financial organizations are saying. And so that, it's just really interesting. You go on, you read this article, and it's talking about what price is and what price is backed by, and how Bitcoin has this unique position as the underlying technology, as the first instance, the first token, the greatest, the token with the asset with the greatest network effect that's been spreading and providing this influence across the world. And so this new world revolution is taking place across many, many different sectors of society, and it's only going to get more intense. So people were skeptical of paper money back when everybody wanted gold. And, now people are skeptical of Bitcoin and blockchain technology after they're just used to paper money. And, so the CEO of Goldman Sachs goes on to say that they've learned over the years that there's a lot of things that they didn't like that worked out pretty well. And they're recognizing, they're hinting, they're just giving the clues that this Bitcoin and blockchain technology are assets and technology that are here to stay. So moving on, we have Jerome Powell. Here's Jerome Powell. He's a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors who has served since 2012. And just recently, President Donald Trump nominated Powell to serve as the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. He was previously nominated to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors by President Barack Obama back in December 2011. And now just on November 2nd here, 2017, nominated to become the chairperson, the head honcho, the leader of the Federal Reserve Corporation, which is in charge of so much financial regulation and monetary policy for the United States, affecting the United States and the entire world. And so let's see what he's said about Bitcoin and blockchain technology before. And so it's really, really interesting because he really has expressed his understanding of blockchain technology in a way that I can really respect. He said here that advanced cryptography could reduce vulnerability to cyber attacks, but make it easier to hide illegal activity. And he goes on to say that to the extent that we relax strong cryptography to make it easier for authorities to monitor the illegal activities, that we could simultaneously weaken the security. And so that is essentially blockchain in a nutshell, is that the stronger the cryptography is, the stronger the crypto behind the cryptocurrency is, the stronger the cryptocurrency is to cyber attacks. And the stronger the cryptocurrency is to cyber attacks, the easier it is for illegal activity to be hidden. But to the extent, exactly what he says here, to the extent that we relax the cryptography, to the extent that we make it easier for the authorities to monitor illegal activity, at the same time, that in itself is what is weakening the security of which the corporations and the governments really also want. So it's a competing dichotomy in terms of what's happening with the features and the nuances of this technology. So Powell continues to go on in terms of the quotes in this article and what he was saying in this this previous talk, this previous speech at a Yale Law School. Goes on to say that we should be open to the new ideas and innovations that drive economic growth and improvements in our financial system, while at the same time the public rightfully expects that authorities are going to do whatever it takes to keep their money safe. And so, so on one hand, this makes perfect sense, the dichotomy of these two separate worlds. And on the other hand, he does say that there needs to be some sort of balance to this dichotomy. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, especially in his new position with all this authority and all this responsibility as the chairperson at the Federal Reserve. So interesting enough, this goes on, a particular article over at cointelegraph.com goes on to say that the interest rates hike, which happened at the time and could happen again, they're seeking to continue to increase the interest rates, even though the inflation is saying they shouldn't increase the interest rates. The Federal Reserve has really signaled that they want to increase the interest rates. And so this is saying that the upcoming interest rates, meanwhile, could ironically serve to benefit Bitcoin as the dollar strengthens and causes repercussions for emerging markets sensitive to exchange rate. And so that's going to be what they have to keep in mind, that if they increase the interest rates, at the same time, it's going to cause more people to move the cryptocurrencies, more people to move the Bitcoin, and that's additional risk that they have to contemplate as they move forward. And so it's not just him. There's other people who are also talking about this, such as the Boston Fed VP, who's talking about the distributed ledger technology. and how it could fundamentally change the financial industry. And so this is Jim Kuna, the Senior Vice President of Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, who said that the distributed ledger technology could fundamentally change the many areas of financial services, which is what we're hearing over and over and over again from the bankers and the regulators across the board. And this changing of financial services is going to allow them to free up money, to free up capital, to make capital and money process faster, which is going to increase the transactions and increase the amount of money supply in the world by increasing the speed at which that money can be transmitted from point A to point B. So the quote here in this article goes on to say that the DLT has the potential to fundamentally change many areas of financial services, payments being just one. Change is also very possible in securities, sales, post-trade processing, derivatives, trade finance, and supply chain, just to name a few. And so this is really interesting that this goes on to say that the Federal Reserve, has been exploring cryptocurrencies since 2011. Can you believe that? For so long, they've been looking into this. For so long, they've been developing not just blockchain technology, but the distributed ledger technology and understanding deeply what's happening and the advantages and disadvantages for the particular use cases that they're thinking about. So it goes on to say that, however, while the applications of the DLT are in the cross-border payment space, most work in that area is occurring outside the US, he said. Adding, so I think there's more potential for change there, but who knows what the future holds back home. And so this is very clearly this VP of the Federal Reserve calling out the fact that so much of the cross-border payments is happening outside of the US, and very clearly stating that he thinks that there's more potential for change there. What kind of change? More potential for the cross-border payments, for this distributed ledger technology, for the blockchain technology to be developed inside the United States as opposed to outside the United States. So this person recognizes that it isn't a sure thing, that blockchain and Bitcoin can continue to be deeply regulated in ways that restrict its development across the 50 states of the United States of America. But this is just one example of one person who seems to clearly think that more of the development should happen within the United States. Earlier this month, Kuna had also told a fintech conference hosted by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia that blockchain technology will wake up SWIFT for SWIFT payments and other middlemen. So again, this is the same person saying how blockchain technology is going to just rock these multi-trillion-dollar financial juggernauts, so these are high up people inside the Federal Reserve who are recognizing the importance of blockchain technology and who are also recognizing the importance of its potential to disrupt existing major players, and are even beyond that, recognizing the importance of blockchain technology being developed partly within inside, or partly, they can't have wholly, but partly developed within inside the United States instead of pushing that development completely outside of the United States. And then he further goes on to describe the Fed's initiative to educate monetary policymakers, to educate payments experts, and to educate regulatory specialists on the risks and potential of blockchain technology, controlling the narrative, directing the narrative, talking about the pros and the cons, the risks and the benefits from the perspective of the Federal Reserve, and maybe not necessarily from the perspective of the developers of the technology, or the majority of the people who are buying and holding these digital assets. It'd be definitely interesting for more people to have their voice heard, for more people to pay attention and to understand what's happening, to understand what's going on, and for more people to be sure that as the news is coming out, as change is happening wherever they live and across the world, that they're paying attention to having an effect, to having a voice on where things go and definitely what's happening. Because if people aren't paying attention, then other people are going to continue setting the narrative. Other people are going to continue writing the story. So someone saw this, they thought it was funny, and they said, so here's this picture. Looks like it's a picture of Jesus Christ. And he says, okay, everyone, now listen carefully. I don't want to end up with 4 different versions of this. And that's the situation we have with Bitcoin. We have the Bitcoin, we have the Bitcoin Cash, we have the Bitcoin Segwit 2X, we have the Bitcoin Gold. There's 4 of them right now. And then there's probably 4 others, and then 4 more after that. And so the point here is that you don't want to let other people control the narrative, that you want to pay attention to the history. You want to pay attention to what's going on. You want to take personal responsibility for your financial assets, for your part of the blockchain, for your voting of the blockchain, for your connecting to the blockchain, for your sharing of this distributed ledger, peer-to-peer technology, of which is what it is. That is what it is. It's not a corporation to corporation. It is a peer-to-peer, and you are one of those peers. And I'm definitely excited and thankful that you're here and you're sticking around and that you're paying attention to this information and what's going on. So speaking of that, this information of what's going on, if you guys want to become a member of Minting Coins, we're giving away the first 500 or so memberships at mintingcoins.com to people to be part of the community. If you want to pay, then feel free to pay. It definitely supports us and the information that we're bringing so we can continue being an independent channel because we are, creating ICO review videos. We're doing corporate reviews. We're doing, paid sponsorships, but those are information to share with you, information to let you know about projects that we think are really interesting. But at the same time, these are projects that are supporting our channel because we are delivering the real information. We are delivering the real deal in terms of the dots and the pieces of the headlines, the news, what's happening, and then connecting those pieces together with you, talking about the real news that's happening and diving deep into connecting the dots and breaking it down and putting it back together again. So all of this takes a lot of time, all this takes a lot of effort, and we can't do this without you. So if you can't contribute with donations, then leave a comment, like this video, upvote us on STEEMIT, just continue being part of the community, continue the good energy of all of us coming together. Because that's the way that we're going to get through this. That's the way that we're going to enjoy the destination once we get to the destination. And that's the way that as many people as possible are going to come together to win. All right. So with that being said, we have a lot of additional information to share. We have other videos coming up and on the way. Be on the lookout for those. In the meantime, like this video, subscribe. And until next time, I'm glad that together we are minting coins.